morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. Today is episode 40. We got to the big 4-0, and people are downloading like crazy. So I appreciate everybody's help and also support. Remember, you can subscribe either on Spotify, on Apple, or on YouTube. I'm going to put all the links in the description. Today, very special guest, Fred Hayden. Fred's been in Costa Rica for over 22 years. He's the top realtor for Century 21 here in the Central Valley. Also, he's a land developer as well. He has a retirement community in Aranjo called Oro Monte. And also he's a builder as well. So he's basically, I suppose, a chainsaw juggler, but a huge resource, tons of knowledge. So I'm going to be asking, Fred questions here on the Central Valley, what's developing, also pricing, cost of living, and also buy versus build here as well. So we're going to be talking about the areas of Atenas, Grecia and Naranjo, which are famous areas for their actual climate, 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit during the night and also to the day. These are very popular, areas with retirees and people looking for cooler climates, which are close to the city and the infrastructure, but also is that they're kind of far enough away, offering spectacular, valley views. So going to be a great chat today. Remember, if you have any questions for me or want to get in contact with me, you can email me. We have a new email address, which is info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. And feel free to post in comments if you guys want to as well. I'm going to put all of Fred's contact details in the description as well, but let's get started. Good morning, Fred. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Richard?
Very, very good. Thank you very much for taking the time to come on the podcast. I feel honored.
Oh, my pleasure. Oh, thanks, Richard. Thanks for inviting me.
Anytime. Well, just for the viewers, how long have you been down here in Costa Rica, Fred?
22 years in Costa Rica, and
Wow.
That's permanently. Yep.
Wow. And how long have you been coming to Costa Rica for?
Not that much longer. I used to have a business in Barbados, and when I sold that, I moved back to Canada in the winter. Was a little disillusioned with the winters, and so moved down here.
Well, I think Costa Rica is probably about to see an influx of Canadians as the borders open, right?
Absolutely. We're really seeing a big difference. And one of the concerns we maybe had was that because we're selling homes here in US dollars, that the Canadian market might be eliminated to some extent. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, the real estate market all throughout Costa Rica has been pretty strong. And I know the areas that you focus on, like the Central Valley, Atenas, Grecia and Naranjo. What have you seen recently, if you don't mind me asking, that surprised you, Fred?
Actually, that people are actually buying some homes virtually. And so, which is a bit of a surprise. I know I've heard of it happening in California and some other areas in the United States, but here, yeah, we've actually sold some homes virtually. And so that to me was a bit of surprise that people are having that much confidence in the market that they would even consider buying a property virtually.
Wow. Well, you mentioned there, or I mentioned the areas of Grecia, Naranjo, and Atenas. They're three different areas, but pretty close together. Of those areas, which of the three is seeing strongest growth at the moment?
Atenas is always the strongest growth, and that's just because there's a great number of real estate agents in Atenas, and all of them doing promotion and advertising. But Atenas has grown over the last 10 or 12 years into a really nice expat destination. So there is quite a few expats in the Atenas area. But having said that, part of the downfall with that is that housing prices is quite high. Whereas you go into some of the outlier areas like Grecia, Naranjo, Sarchi, San Ramon, the prices are still reasonable, and you're getting some really, really nice homes and at nice altitudes, nice climate. So those areas are becoming more and more popular as well.
Yeah, talking climate, just because, again, a lot of people are probably wondering about that. These areas, it's very fresh. It's probably 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, would you say, during night and day?
That's exactly correct. At night, it cools down to about 65 degrees. And one of the big questions we get is there air conditioning? And typically here in the Central Valley, you don't need air conditioning. If you have a ceiling fan, you could turn your ceiling fan on at night when you go to bed. And typically in the middle of the night, you're going to shut your ceiling fan off because you don't need it. And so, yeah, the temperatures are down to around 65 at night and up to around 85 degrees during the day. And that's consistent year round. And so this is why these areas, the Central Valley, has got the reputation for being the best climate in the world, because it's the most consistent climate. It doesn't change a lot year round except for the rainy season. And again, a lot of people say that, oh, the rainy season, we don't want to be a part of the rainy season, but it's kind of it gives people a misconception, because typically it's only 2 hours a day that we get rain, between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. That's not always, not every day, but with September and October being the 2 months that we get the most rain, and it could rain all day long in September or October, but not necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, September and October sometimes we go a couple of days without rain here. And, it's not often that we have rain all day. Personally, I think the draw of Atenas, Grecia and Naranjo, Sachi area is just the views, stunning valley views. You're close to the city, close to the airport, close to the beaches, and strong expat communities in those areas, right?
Absolutely. And of course, I live in the Central Valley. And so this is why I promote the Central Valley, but I love it. I truly do love it. I have a membership at a beach club, and we go down there occasionally. But I'm happy to come back to the mountains and the fresh air and the views down the Central Valley.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's the benefit, is that, again, you get the cooler climate, but if you want to go to the beach, it's very close by. Hospitals are close by. All the infrastructure you need. It's the best of both worlds, really.
Absolutely. This is what I try and instill in people. And I say it's good to come down here and check out all the areas, because some people are fascinated with the beach. And it was my dream as well when I was young I want a beachfront property. And once you get to Costa Rica, or a climate like Costa Rica, and you see the beaches and the humidity and the heat, and you spend most of your time in the air conditioning, and the different things that happen in beach areas, like appliances that get destroyed because of the salt air, and your car, and all these different little things. For me, it's not for me. Like I say, for me to visit, I love the beach. I'd like to go to the beach once in a while, but to live there, it's not my thing.
Well, you'd mentioned there about the pricing of homes in Atenas, and also compared to kind of Naranjo area. Say for a 3-bedroom home in Atenas, how much would you be looking for compared to maybe something in Naranjo?
Yeah, it's a fairly big difference. A nice 3-bedroom home on a nice piece of property, you're looking at around 400,000, 450,000. Whereas in the Naranjo, San Ramon area, you're looking at around 300, 350 for the same home.
Yeah, and Atenas has good views, but I was out at your property the other week because I was like, Naranjo, Atenas is kind of the area. I was like, I like Naranjo. I cycle around there. It's beautiful. I will say this: I was overwhelmed when I came and saw the property that you developed there. And I'm giving a plug for it here, because I keep saying, Fred, and maybe you're just like, oh, Richard's, just blowing smoke here. But what you've done there is pretty amazing. That view straight down the valley with Grecia and Naranjo, Atenas over to the right, and then straight down to the Central Valley of San Jose. That's a stunning piece of property, sir.
Thank you, Richard. No, thank you. And since you mentioned it, you don't mind me discussing my own property.
No, not at all. Again, I think it's a very unique place, Fred. I think people looking to retire or looking for a slower pace of life, but being surrounded by infrastructure if they want it. And I say infrastructure, but still it's country kind of living, but close to the city if you want to be there. And I think it's a great community you're building.
No, thank you, Richard. No, this was my goal, is that every home that's built here, we will build, because we want to conform to the project. So every house has already been designed to fit the individual lots, and there's 28 lots in total. And there's 2 big lots, 5,000 square meter lots, that we'll do custom built homes on. But the rest of the lots, the majority of the lots, are between 500 and 600 square meters, so just over 1/8 of an acre. And like I say, everything has already been designed and planned out, so that the community is going to be like-minded people. There's a big, huge clubhouse and a pool already built. And this is something that happens here in Costa Rica as well. People buy into a development, or the developer says, after the certain number of sales, we'll build the clubhouse. And after a certain number of sales, we'll build a pool. My concept was build it first, and people are going to see what it is they're getting.
As they said on Wayne's World, if you build it, they will come, right? So I'm sure somebody else said that beforehand, but yeah, I mean, I completely agree, Fred. Costa Rica's littered with graveyards of, failed projects. And I think they went the other way around it. Whereas, I mean, again, I looked at it and I went, how much money has Fred put in this place? I mean, everything is there already. I mean, all it needs is houses being built, and you're actually in the process of building tons of houses. I mean, I was there with a client the other day just because they were intrigued by it. And I was like, okay, let's go and see this. And again, my expectations were low. I have to be honest, Fred. And when we got there, I mean, I was like, wow, and these guys fell in love with it, and they're about to sign this week, actually, on one of those lots. So yeah.
No, this is I'm really proud of what I've done. And typically I'll say that if I say myself, I'm happy with what I've accomplished or what I'm accomplishing, then everybody else is happy as well.
Yeah.
And I have a fairly high standard as far as what I want to do and how I like to have things done.
Well, let's just jump into like living costs here in Costa Rica at the moment. I mean, how much do you think you need to live? How much money a month do you think you need to live? I would say comfortably in these areas of Atenas, Naranjo, Grecia.
It varies depending on your lifestyle, of course. But if you don't have a mortgage, you don't have car payments, and you're coming here with debt free, I would say probably about $2,000, $2,500 a month to live.
So we got you back now, Fred. Sans the camera, but all is good. All is good. So we were just talking there about how much to live here in Costa Rica. About $2,000 to $2,500 a month. I mean, my question here, Fred, is, you could probably go as low as $1,500 a month to live in some of these areas. If you lived very simply, right?
Absolutely. I mean, things here that are a little bit more expensive than what typically extra inheritors are used to is electricity costs are a little bit higher. Water costs are quite inexpensive, and gas is a little more expensive than what people are typically used to. Meals, and it all depends on where you go to. You can go to have a typical dish, a casada, very inexpensively, probably like $6. Again, it all depends on what area you're in. And this is one of the differences between the Central Valley areas and the beach areas. The beach areas tend to be very touristy, and hence you get tourist prices. Whereas the Central Valley areas, there's lots of little tiny restaurants tucked into the little corners, very quaint, that are very, very inexpensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, it's a very affordable way of living here. I mean, I think one of the big advantages of the of that Central Valley area is just the access to farmers markets, fresh food, and fresh fruit as well. I mean, and you're surrounded by coffee plantations, bananas. I mean, it has everything. Great climate. I think for anyone that's not looking for beach life but kind of doesn't want to live in the city as well, I think we've said it before, is it really does offer everything.
No, now that you mentioned that, Richard, too, is I've always said that one of the favorite meeting places is the farmers market. And typically you have your farmers market Friday afternoon, Saturday, and sometimes even on Sunday, depending on where you live. And some of the farmers market range from just, stalls, some different stalls with fruit and vegetables, to bigger farmers markets that have meat and different things, as well as crafts. I mean, there's one in Grecia that is huge, and it's a great place to go. And always you end up meeting people that you said, oh, you know what, we needed to get together, and here we are in the farmers market.
Yeah.
And so it's a great place to meet people, and just a great place in general to see the culture. And I know when I first came here and wasn't sure of the language or the currency, the people here are very honest. I mean, I could literally hand out money and hold my hand out, and they'd give me the correct change. And it was a very nice environment, and it still is. And that was 22 years ago, and I can still say after 22 years that I love living here.
Yeah. I mean, I think you mentioned it. The people make this country, but they're so humble. They're so trustworthy. They are, of course, there are, sometimes, the rotten apple. But typically, I mean, especially in the countryside area, the Central Valley area, people are very humble, and and very, it's a very safe area as well.
No, this is it. Like, you go into the big cities here and you're going to find what they call burglar bars, which are bars on the windows and that kind of stuff. But as you move out to the country, and people don't, it's a safe environment. Typically it's very family oriented, and so the community is safe. And because of that, the people they're very religious and very proud people.
Yep. Well, I want to jump to just kind of completely switch subjects here to kind of buy versus build a minute. As I know that Fred, it's kind of like you're juggling chainsaws. You're a realtor, you're a developer, you're a builder, which is great, because I think that, typically realtors don't have that huge perspective on everything. And I think that, that's a great, depth of or breadth of knowledge that you have there, Fred. But typically, when do you see when should someone build and when should someone buy, in your opinion?
It's a good question, Richard, because it's more of an individual perspective. We have clients coming down here and they want to build. They want to design their own home, and so they come here and they'll look at a piece of property, and the lot is incredible. It has an incredible view, but to be able to build on that same lot would be very difficult because of the terrain. And this is where we come in. We can give them the advice that before you buy a lot, you need to get what they call a uso de suelos, which is a document that's free from the local municipality that tells you what you can build on the property, how much of the property can be built, if there's water, if there's natural springs that you need to respect certain distances from, and all that kind of stuff we can help them with. And so this is one of the things people come down here. And I mean, Costa Rica has gotten a bit of a bad reputation as far as coming down and inexperienced builders, or people giving them misinformation as far as building costs. And, they get frustrated. And they hear things like, with the web now and the chats and what have you, people are like, no, I don't want to build. But building is a very viable option. Of course, you're going to save money because you're not getting the gains that the builder, like such as myself, would get if I built the house and I have to sit on it. But having said that, these new homes that are being built now, there's a college of engineers, which is a governing body that mandates that the designs go through them first, so that they're structurally and seismically up to code. And there's proper inspections that need to be done during the building process by a qualified engineer to make sure that those qualifications are being met. And so the houses that are being built now are top quality. Finishings vary, and again, pricing can vary depending on finishes. But typically, is what we do is we show you some of the houses that we built, and we say you can have a house of this quality at X dollars per square foot, and that includes this, and this, which is a detailed list of materials. And at the end of the day, if the client wants to change from the ceramic that we've quoted to a higher grade, they can, and they pay the extra. And if they select something that's less expensive, then they get a credit.
Yeah. Well, Fred, I've seen some of the quality of your work, and as I said, not to give you another plug, it's impressive. I mean, how much per square foot are you looking at for the quality of the stuff that I saw the other day?
Up to just recently, I could have told you that it was $100 a square foot.
Yep.
And I've been very comfortable with that number. The problem is now, in the last several months, last 6 months, I guess, the building costs, as well as the United States and Canada, have been going crazy. And I mean, that's affected us more than anyone here in Costa Rica, because a lot of the products are imported.
Yep.
So we're not only getting the lack of materials, but the increased costs, and so that gives us, it's tougher and tougher to get the materials that we're looking for. So now I would say that your building costs are actually gone to between $110 and $120 a square foot.
Okay. Well, I mean, still not, a 10 to 20% increase is nothing compared to the price of timber in North America. So, to be expected, but I was actually expecting you to jump up even higher on that. But, I think that people shouldn't be scared to build in Costa Rica. I think as long as you have a great architect and great engineer, things, and a great builder, of course, which are three different things that aren't that difficult to find. I mean, I would not be afraid of it, guys. I really wouldn't. Now, just, I mean, if you could go back 5 years, Fred, and tell yourself to invest in something in Costa Rica, which I'm sure that you've done because I think you've invested kind of all over in Costa Rica, what would you invest in and why? And what would you have stayed clear of?
Let's see here. One second. Yo estoy en la llamada for Richard. Sorry, Richard. No, if I could, like 5 years ago, I think I would have invested in more properties. I mean, I have invested in quite a few properties, but the property values have gone just up and up. And the other thing is, because I'm in the building business, I probably would have bought more building materials.
Yep.
And stockpiled. But nobody can predict the future. I mean, always things goes up in value, but but like I say, recently things have just it doesn't seem to be an end to it.
Okay, Fred, I mean, what advice would you give to potential listeners looking to invest in Costa Rican real estate?
Just to be do their due diligence, check on the quality of the builders work, check with different builders, get some different quotes. The prices do vary quite a bit, but make sure that they go and look at the finished product.
Yeah.
For an example, I was at a home the other day with somebody that's potentially going to build with us, and they're renting, and they said, "Oh, what if we bought this house and we know it needs to be upgraded?" And my warning to them was that, yeah, here in Costa Rica, depending on who the builder was, the quality of the material might not be as great as what it should be. To check and make sure that that there's hot and cold water throughout the entire house, so that the plumbing is in place. Because if not, to be able to put plumbing in after the fact, especially the hot water throughout the rest of the house, is a very difficult process, because typically the homes here are built with concrete and block and rebar. And so to start chipping up floors and cutting walls, it's a very extensive process and costly. And so at the end of the day, the client's not going to be happy because of the dust, the mess, the noise, and would have been better to build from scratch. So these are the kind of things that people should look at. Another very important thing, in my opinion, is that the house has a clay tile roof or some kind of properly insulated roofing material. Because here during the rainy season, the rain does get fairly extensive. And if you don't have some kind of insulated roofing material, you can't hear yourself talk. You can't talk on your cell phone. You can't watch TV. It's very disruptive.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on that front. You know, I have so many people asking me, Fred, to either help them get quotes for building from different builders, or, you know, do I know anyone that can do a very thorough mechanical and also, you know, electrical engineering home inspection? Because I think it's really important to get a really thorough, you know, home inspection done if you're going to buy a house. Just because also just looking at the roof as well, you know, the roof structure, how long you think it's going to last for, you know, I think it's so important. I had someone the other day who got a light home inspection done, and then literally like 4 weeks later, they had to go and replace, you know, some parts in the condenser, and it cost them $2,000. Where if they'd have paid $500 to get a great home inspection done, this would have been pulled up in that.
Absolutely. No, very, very good point. Excellent point.
You know, so, well, Fred, last question to you, a question I love to ask everyone that comes on the podcast. If you were to inherit $500,000 today, you had to invest it into a business or real estate, what would you do it? What would you invest in today and why?
Wow, good question. Wow, 500,000. When am I getting that money?
checks in the post, Fred. Checks in the post.
I would probably invest it in real estate, and here in Costa Rica, because I see that the market is definitely increasing. I mean, we've had a tough time since 2008. Things haven't been great, but this with the COVID epidemic, it's really taken a toll on the real estate market, and that market's picking up now. And it hasn't reached by any means what it is in the United States and Canada as far as the boom and the multiple offers and bidding wars and all that kind of stuff. But I can see, and I don't think we're going to get to that point, but I do see house prices rising, and right now even we're having the supply is diminishing. Yeah. So I would definitely invest in real estate.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you kind of some perspective, the other day I was with a client that hired me. I went out for them for actually we were together a week doing the whole Guanacaste coastline. They finally made an offer on a home in Hacienda Pinilla. The house was 1.7 million. I mean, it was beautiful. They made an offer at 1.65 and someone came in at 1.75 and they asked me, what do you think we should do? And I said, look, in my opinion, buy the lot next door and build a house because I think we could do it for 1.3, 1.4. Again, it might take a little bit longer. So it looks like I'm actually about to go and look at the land this week that we're about to potentially make an offer on and build with them. So those offers are starting to come in on properties, multiple offers which haven't been seen before. So yeah, things are certainly starting to heat up down here, and I think it's only going to basically get hotter.
No, I think that's good advice to your client that to build, and even with the rising costs of materials, I still think that it's going to be a good market, and housing prices is going to increase.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think their concern was just more of how we're going to manage this project. And I'm like, look, guys, I'll go and take a look at it every so often for you. But I think as long as you've got a good architect and good engineer, you'll get exactly what it is that you want. Plus also, you've got an excuse now to come down to Costa Rica to take a look at your building project.
There you go.
So... Well, anyway, Fred, it's been an absolute pleasure. Anyone that wants to get into contact with Fred, I'm going to put all of his details down below, as well as also his project in Aranjo, which I would highly suggest that anyone that's interested goes and takes a look at. As I mentioned, Fred's also a realtor for Century 21 here in the Central Valley, as well as a builder, as well as a developer. There's not much that Fred doesn't know or doesn't do, so he's a great resource. And really appreciate your time today, Fred, and hope you have a great day, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. And it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks. Have a good one, Fred.
Take care.